So this is the third part of how to hire, train, and retain, right? We talked 2 weeks ago, we went through a class, Brandon and I, all about how do you build your vision, your value, and what does that look like to grow your organization, right? Who are those first hires? What is the talent you're looking for to really bring in those empire builders? Then last week, we had the class on how to train them. We bring people in, then we get to train them, right? What does that probationary 90-day, that 30, 60, 90 look like for them? What clarity are you providing them, and what resources do they have to really get trained properly to help them be successful, right? So they can, it was the, that slide that was last week that showed we do it, then they do it, right? So it was that curve where it's like, we're doing it, now we're training them, so now we're doing it. So I do it, we do it, they do it, right? Now we hired people, we trained them. Now we need to retain them, right? Hence the stop the revolving door. So you ever work in an organization or know of a team that has that revolving door? You've seen that? People just coming in, going out, coming in and leaving, right? So we're going to talk through different strategies on how to stop that, right? What I want to do is review something that we went over last week and the week before, because it's really important. It's personality traits and talent, right? Does anybody remember, did either of you remember the 8 signs or any of the 8 signs of talent? Like pop quiz.
Yeah, but I put them in my own words, so.
Okay.
They're solution finders. There's someone who's going to push me.
Solution finders, results and action oriented. They're going to push you. Love that. Resourceful.
They demand to be around other talented people.
Yes, talent wants to be surrounded by talent. Absolutely. Ooh, I really like that, which I don't even know. Is that on here? Talent. Oh, demands to be associated with talent and attracts talent to them. Yeah, that's a huge one.
So the pushing me is the continuing the reason why. Yes. Oh no, pushing you is there, right? So as I said, I put it in my own words. I have accountability, self-motivated, hungry, someone who wants to own the job, positivity, someone who fills in my gaps. I just put my own words.
No, that's perfect. And it's important to look at this not only for ourselves and say, okay, where do I need to improve in these? But then it's to look at who we're hiring and saying, okay, is this person talent? And then we bring them on in that 30, 60, 90, are they showing these traits, right? Now, if in those 90 days, they are not showing any of these traits at all, what does that mean?
We missed something major in the hiring process.
We missed something major in the hiring process. Yep, absolutely. Which does happen, right? I hired so my last Keller Williams office I came from, I helped hire a person for the leadership team. And this person showed up as talent. Their resume, their Keller personality assessment, their 3-step interview process, everything. This person knew how to interview very well. Everybody was excited about her, super excited, and we hired her. Within 30 days, it did not take long. Within 30 days, we quickly knew she pulled the wool over her eyes and was not talent. Now, we didn't let her go right away. We're like, okay, let's provide more resources. Let's sit down with her. Let's revisit her goals. Let's revisit her motivation. Let's see what's missing, right? And maybe there's a miscommunication in how she likes to be trained versus what we're doing, right? So it's not just this quick, boop, you're out, right? But let's sit down and figure out, is there something salvageable here? Well, we did that. We sat down. Again, she talked. She was an expert talker. Her talent was talking. Okay. So she made it through to her. She passed the first 30-day probationary. She made it through to the second 30-day. And by the end of that 60-day mark, we're like, nope, this is not happening. So we had to sit down and actually have that critical conversation that nobody wants to have. And what we ended up doing was, instead of just being like, okay, you're out, which technically Maryland is an at-will state, so we could have, we put her on a PIP, a performance improvement plan, which gives clarity on this is what's expected, this is what you're not doing, this is what you need to do by this date, what help do you need, support, and we're going to meet weekly to see how this is going, but by this date, if we don't see this improvement, we're going to part ways. So what do you think happened by that date? You would hope. You would think. Some people that works and they get a kick in the rear and they actually improve and you're excited. Some people that does not occur and they walk it, but there's no surprise. So what happens is they're walking in that door going, so it's today my last day? All right, guess I'm leaving, right? They already know it's coming, which takes a lot of pressure off of us because nobody wants to sit and let someone go. I worked for, you're gonna hear some stories today, is that cool?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. For those watching this recording, by the way, my name's Alana, Director of Coaching and Business Development here at Keller Williams Legacy. Years ago, I was a director at a university and led many teams, hired many people, trained many people, let many people go, helped people re-navigate their life, as I like to say it. After university, I ended up doing some consulting for a sales company, and I went into the sales company. They had 22 in-house sales individuals. And I went in there to build out their training program, help them hire the right people, just kind of start from the ground up. I went in there and they just threw people in seats. They literally was like, oh, a vacant seat. Hey, you look good. Come on in, sit in the seat. Right? No, I mean, the hiring process was all like five minutes. Right? And there was no training whatsoever. So my job was to come in, assess the 22 people in the seats, refocus them, and then rehire. Unfortunately, what happened was I came in, fortunately or unfortunately, however you like to look at this, I came in and within 3 weeks, I let 11 out of 22 of them go. In 1 week, I let 11 people go. By the way, no matter how many times you do it, no matter how many teams you run, it hurts. It hurts. It is not fun. There may or may not have been a glass of wine afterwards or a margarita. There may or may not have been some tears shed in my car on the way home. Nobody likes that, right? But it's the right thing to do, not just for you and your organization, but it's the right thing to do for the other people on the team, because they're going to bring talent, wants talent surrounding them. But it's also the right thing to do for those people who are struggling in the seats, because nobody wants to struggle, right? They're probably going home hating life every day as well, right? So at the end of the day, it's actually a win-win for everyone. It just doesn't feel like it in the moment. So when we talk today about the revolving door, what we're going to talk about is not never fire anybody, never let anybody go, right? We're going to talk about different ways to lead a team to success and know when the revolving door does need to take place. Sound good? Okay. Why does employee turnover matter? Why does that matter?
Well, if you're trying to build cohesiveness within your team or your organization, every time somebody comes to build, there's a little bit of a lag or gap filling that again and again.
So I love that you're trying to build cohesiveness. If people are coming in and out of that door, that cohesiveness it doesn't work, right? Because there's always this gap, and who fills in the gaps? Right, the people who are left behind, right? So you have, let's say, 3 people on your team, and this person leaves, and this person leaves. This, person, let's call them A, B, and C. Person A who's left is like, seriously, really? Now I have to do B and C's job with my job A and work an extra 2-3 hours every single day and on weekends, especially in real estate, right? Not only that, but what perception does that say if there's constantly this revolving door? What could that say to outsiders looking in?
They must not know what they're doing. I mean, they're going to make a lot of assumptions, and many of them might not be the best.
Yes, there's going to be assumptions formed. People look at other people. People look at teams. In real estate's a very small world. Right now, standing up here, and I will not name them, of course, but I know multiple teams throughout the nation who have a revolving door, a constant revolving door. And I know why. And, you try to coach people, you try to train people, but people are stuck in their ways, and it just continues, right? So there's a team that I know, not here, okay, not Maryland, actually. There's a team I know, real estate team. They do huge production. They're actually a fantastic group of people. They're caring, they're wonderful people. But because they don't take the time to hire properly, because they have no specific training in place to properly train people, so they're bringing in wrong people. The wrong people aren't even getting trained properly. And because of that, these people are just going through the door, right? It's that, it literally is this right here. This is exactly, it is Buddy the Elf. Okay, anybody knows the movie, is Buddy the Elf just circling through the door, right? So I had a friend in that state who wanted to join this team. And I'm never going to say no or yes, because that's not my place. What I do is I coach people by asking questions to have them ask their own questions to make sure it's a good fit, right? That's all, right? That's not my team. It's not my place to say if it's good or not, right? And I will never speak poorly of their revolving door, because this person might not be a revolving door. It might be a fantastic fit, right? So one of the things that I asked this person was, okay, I want you to find out, I want you to think for yourself, what do you want from this team, right? What value do you want? What do you want to gain? What are you looking to partner with? And then when you meet with them, ask them about their vision, ask them about who they are, make sure that you guys just mesh and you're aligned, right? Really ask them a lot of questions. Now, this person did that. They joined the team. And for about 6 months, it was great. Then this individual, who was talent, by the way, came to me and was like, they can't keep people. Everybody keeps coming in and out. Everybody's constantly in and out, in and out. And he's like, I'm tired of it. Now, this is talent saying this. Okay, this is talent. What did we say in the beginning? Talent wants to be around other talent. So because of this revolving door, this person who could have been an amazing fit for this team and take them to newer heights ended up leaving the team. Hence, another person out the door in 6 months, right? So employee turnover really matters because number one, it costs money. If we don't take the time up front, the time it takes to hire someone, train them, time is money, right? It costs money. Loss of productivity, right? You keep losing people, that's money going out the door. Loss of engagement, because your team is now having to pick up the slack, or you're having to pick up the slack. So engagement's going to get lost. Cultural impact. We talked a lot in the last class about the culture on your team and how that should be, I think you brought it up actually, that should be really important to help people want to feel like they're a part of something. Well, if people are constantly going in and out, can you build a culture? It's hard to.
Yeah, I mean,
You can build one, but
right, to a certain extent. You are the culture.
Yeah, right.
But-
You're the only culture,
You're right, exactly.
right? And people are just in and out and you're like, this is my culture.
Well, your
This is
culture
it.
becomes a negative, right?
Your-
It's the place where everyone just comes and goes, comes and goes. We're all-
Your culture becomes a negative. Yep. Yep. So again, employee turnover does matter. Again, this doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that you're going to retain everyone. As a growing team, you actually shouldn't retain everyone because we have to fail to succeed. There's a producing agent. Well, he's more than that. One of Gary's top 10 individuals, agents. His name is Tim Heil, H-E-Y-L. Great YouTube channel, by the way, Tim Heil. So Tim started in real estate at about 22. He read the Red Book, the Millionaire Real Estate Agent Red Book, from front to back. And he says, I'm going to follow this to a T. So he followed it to a T. He built up his own business. 2 years or 3 years in, he then started building a team. He followed the Red Book, but moved too fast. Brought all these people on. Okay. I got to hear him speak and he shared the story and it stuck with me to this day. By this age, he was 24, I think, 25. So he's like, I've read the Red Book. I know what I'm doing. I built up my business individually. I'm going to bring all these people in. That's what I'm going to build a team. So he hired very fast. He didn't have anything in place, no systems in place, brought them all on thinking that's what you do, and failed miserably, right? Everybody left him within 1 year, everybody. So he's like, well, shoot. What'd I do wrong? Right? So then he, number one, got a coach. Number two, reread the Red Book slowly, took a different approach to hire slowly, had training in place for them, started with 1 or 2 people to help grow, moved on from there slowly, kept it small, right? Had a few hires he had to let go and bring in new people because when we're new at it, we have to fail to succeed, right? We got to learn. Now he is 33, 34. He owns 3 businesses. He has $100 million in production team volume. No, I'm sorry. GCI, gross commission income. He makes 100 million, like his team pulls in $100 million. And he nets a few $1 million himself. But it took learning and failing to do it right to be able to retain his people. So we're going to go through in the next in our time is how to expand your vision to grow your business, how to think bigger. What is a GPS, goals, priorities, and strategies? What is a 411? And we're actually going to start developing one. Your day-to-day, how do you as a leader kick off the day-to-day and lead that for your team? Because that's a huge part of retention. And then how do they earn ownership of the opportunity to empower them to succeed? Is there anything you want to make sure we cover that's not on this?
No, I don't think so.
All right,
Nothing that comes to mind right now, but if it does, I'll let you know.
please. All right, well, let's dive in. Oops. All right. Expanding your vision to grow your business, thinking big. We talked last week about vision, or 2 weeks ago about vision. Do you have one?
I think my problem is not the vision. My problem is taking a small chunk to get to the vision. But I am huge with vision.
Would you mind sharing part of it?
I mean, so I guess to talk about my vision, I kind of got to go where I come from. I started as an investor.
Mm-hmm.
That's been my drive, my passion for a long time. I became an agent because I was paying so many agent fees. I'm like, I might as well be an agent. So I became an agent as an investor, and I really didn't know what my appetite was for being an agent, and I kind of still don't. I just know that I'm really into real estate. And before I had this business, real estate business, I had an event planning business. Didn't really have an appetite to do event planning either. My appetite has always been to facilitate other professionals in their passion, to have the overall umbrella company to let you do the things that you are really good at. So the same thing in event planning, I have the same vision for real estate. It's like, okay, yes, I wanna invest in houses, and I do, but I want to have under my umbrella, I want to have my electricians, my plumbers, my real estate agents, my stagers. I just want to have this. I have this big vision of this one-stop, everything you need for real estate. And for me, what I bring is the operations part.
Okay.
Not so much that I want to be a person that's, flipping the houses, or I want to be a person that says, okay, I'm running an operation so that you talent can go and do you do and bring it all together, and the business feeds your business. This person over here who's flipping this house is providing the stagers their business, and giving the electricians their business, and giving the plumbers their business, and then it's all feedback. And the plumbers go out, to do this house, or this needs additional work. So here, I need you to come and do this. That's the vision that I have, and I see it also kind of in this generational for me, because I know so many people within my family, my circle, that are doing these things individually and struggling doing it individually. And I feel like we can do it better together. And I'm just like, I want to facilitate that. Like, if I can sit back and see that happen, and everybody, and I can give them what they need so they don't have to worry about doing accounting and all that other stuff. And they can just go do the thing. That's my dream. So I had like a list of, I don't know, 25 different disciplines that I want under this umbrella. And I want to build, it's so much. If it's real estate related, I kind of want to do it. Okay. But I don't really want to do it.
So, it's interesting what you shared, and thank you for sharing that. What you shared is kind of goes into that question. Is the vision big enough to attract and keep talent? Right now, I'm going to come to your vision in just a second. A person just starting out growing a real estate team who's never hired, never grew a team before, your vision may be small to kick it off to grow your team. But at some point in time, we would need to partner with our team to revamp and grow the vision, right? And as a leader, we'll need to grow that vision, because at some point in time, The vision has to grow to be able to grow opportunities, to be able to keep talent. So what you just shared is this huge vision that people can fit themselves into. So not only attracting different people in different ways, but then you could, in theory, based on the vision you shared, you could bring in a brand new agent over here in the real estate world, be working with them, getting up and running, and help them succeed, but find out 8 months in that their passion is really operations, right? Or property management, right? And if your vision's big enough, how do you help navigate that, right? I love that. That's so yours is not, is my big vision enough? Yours is, where do I start? Because that also is the kind of the catch-22 to this, right? For huge visions, we can't start 10 years from now.
Right.
We can't start 5 years from now. You know, Gary Keller always says on stage, you can be anywhere you want to be in 5 years. Okay. And it is so true, right? It is so true. I started as a real estate agent. Actually, technically, I started as an inside sales associate, sitting in a room with a headset on, smiling and dialing for 6 hours out of my 8-hour day, 5 days a week, setting appointments for agents. People talk about lead gen, and I'm like, I was a lead gen machine, right? That's all I did. I dialed 300 to 500 phone numbers a day. I talked to 30 to 40 people out of those numbers a day, setting 8 to 10 appointments a week, right? For 5 months. Was that my passion? No. Was that a foot in the door? Absolutely, right? So then it's like, okay, where's this? Who has the vision and where am I going, right? At that point in time, I was part of a team that had a very large vision. So I had thoughts of where I wanted to go within that organization. Then I got licensed, became an agent, did that for all of a hot minute. When the leadership side of Keller Williams came into the room I sat and was making calls in and was like, opportunity, right? So again, what is the number one? Talent is always being recruited. Number two is, what's the vision of that person, right? Not just the team, but that person. Where do they want to go? And does your team supply that, right? And fast forward, never had thoughts of coaching at that time in my life. I was like, I'm going to be the greatest agent in all of Maryland. And then I'm like, wait, there's other things I can do. There's bigger things. I'm going to go over there and do that instead, right? And now fast forward, literally 5 years. 5 years. I should probably do the math to get exact on that, but we're going to go with 5 years. Had the opportunity to become a coach, to build a consulting company, to coach nationwide, to be interviewed by Gary Keller. A person can be anywhere they want to be in 5 years. So if you have this big vision, it's not big enough. It's, how do I get there in 5 years? What's step one? And we're going to actually do an activity to start you on that today. Okay. And then of course, proactively expanding your vision. So again, they have room to grow, right? That is a huge, huge thing. You may bring in this amazing, talented person. Where do they want to be in a year? Where do they want to be in 3 years? Right? What does that look like? We're going to get to that when we talk about 4-in-1s in a little bit. So let's get into the nitty gritty. For those, do you have the handout that was in the back? Okay, there should be 2 pages. Okay. So one of the pages says my one thing in 2022. This is your GPS. A GPS stands for goals, priorities, and strategies. So the first thing as a visionary and a team leader is to clarify your goals, figure out what do you want to achieve as the leader in 2022. Then it's actually doing an activity with team members, or if you don't have a team yet, you do this activity for yourself. And then when you bring on team members, you redo it with them. What happens when you include the team in doing the activities?
We take ownership. They're part of-
They take ownership. Absolutely. Is there some buy-in? Yep. They're more likely to do it, right? There's nothing worse, and I've seen teams do this. There's nothing worse than Mike starts up a team. Mike's vision is he wants to close 200 units next year. Okay. 200 closings. He brings on these agents, he has his admin, he has his transaction coordinator, and he asks everybody on the team what their goals are. And the agents on his team are like, well, I really would like to close like maybe a closing a month. You know, I think I want to do like 6 this year. Does that align? Can Mike's vision and goal happen? Not at all. Did Mike maybe hire the wrong people? So vision was definitely not communicated. Goals were not communicated, and you might have the wrong people on the bus, right? Which is okay. This is why we fail to succeed, right? So the very first thing is getting really, really clear on your goals for just 2022, not beyond. Don't go into beyond just yet. You can have that vision, but you got to start with 1 year first, because then we have to chunk it down. So what I want you to do is take a minute, and on that piece of paper I gave you, where it says my one thing in 2022 is, write down that goal. Make sure it's very specific. Take a few minutes, do that. Did you write something down?
I did.
Is it specific?
It is specific. Now, I don't know if it's detailed enough, but it's specific.
Would you mind
And it is
sharing?
my one goal for 2022, and that is to grow into a team. It's to go from being a single agent to have a team, but the team is with one more person. That's my goal.
Okay, so your one goal is to grow into a team. We may make that more specific in a little bit, but we're going to keep it as is just for right now. Okay. So we clarify the goal. We're going to clarify that one in just a minute. We're going to use yours as the example, if you don't mind. So we clarify the goal. Okay. When we have a team, we share it with the team. If our initial goal is to start a team, to develop a team, then obviously there's no one to share it with just yet, minus the coach. right?
Right.
Then we move on and identify 3 priorities, each of which is designed to achieve that big goal, right? So what would be, let's work kind of let's do a little activity right here. What if the big goal is start a team? What would be one priority for that?
One, make the right first hire.
Okay, so make the right first hire. Who would be that first hire,
That's part of that, like drill down, right? So who's the first hire?
right?
You gotta figure that out.
Right, so that priority is make the right first hire, but that needs to be even more specific.
Okay, so that's not, okay, so the S is
The strategies are the tactics behind it. Post a job on Indeed, interview 5 people a week. Those are the strategies behind making the right first hire.
So maybe
The priority would be-
is to identify.
So
what the
priority
first,
1,
first hire should be.
I like that. So priority 1, identify first hire, who the first hire should be. Write that down. Right. And that goes back to one way to identify what the first hire should be. Now, the MREA book, the red book, right? The Bible of all real estate says who should be our first hire? An admin. Yep. Executive assistant, admin, operations, whatever term you like to call it, but it's that person. Now, here's the thing. Could it be someone different for you personally? It might be, right? It might be. So first is identifying, one way you can identify what your first hire is to block out an hour of your time. I'm going to give you specifics now. You block out 1 hour in your calendar. You take pen and paper or a whiteboard or something you can brainstorm on, and you put down, what's my 20%? What are my big rocks? Right? Now, if you're not sure, then the activity starts with write down everything you do. I have to lead gen. I have to go on appointments. I have to do showings. I got to work with buyers. I have to write contracts. I have to do marketing. I have to do contract to close. I have to do all those other things I can't think of right now, but it's an entire list. There's actually a Excel sheet I have that has over 100 things on it. I can send that to you if you want. Remind me after this. So if you don't know what your main things are, write down everything you currently do and then highlight what you want based on your strengths and what you're passionate about, your 20% is, okay? So I'll give you an example of this. So I've been a coach now for over 4.5 years, and it's been me, myself, and I. So not only working with agents, but doing all the marketing, developing the education calendar, leading most of the trainings, whole laundry list of things. I actually did this activity once, and it was like that huge whiteboard next to you was like full, okay? Full. I didn't say I did them all perfectly, but it was full of stuff. So when I brought on my first hire, which was following the red book, operations, right? Lead by example. I had to sit down and say, it's no longer just me. I have this person now. So what out of my world are they going to do? So I went in my world and I said, what is my main focus? So I highlighted those, and then everything else was the 80% that became her big rocks, right? Then fast forward a few months, I hired the first full-time coach, AKA as a team, you bring in ops, then you bring in potentially a buyer's agent, maybe a showing assistant, something to that effect. So I hired that person. Again, prior to them starting, you have to prep work, right? So you know what you're training them on, provide clarity. Prior to them starting, I had to sit down and say, okay, I have my big rocks. Melissa, operations for coaching, has her big rocks. But now another full-time coach is coming on. Let me take my big rocks and be like, wait a minute, what out of these should this person be doing after they get trained, of course, right? What am I going to be empowering them to take over so they succeed? So I had to take my list, rewrite it out, and then revamp my list to make their list. So when they started, they were provided with, on that very first day, that 30, 60, 90, right? And knew very clearly, I hope, as I look to a brand new coach who just started 3 weeks ago, and look at that and say, do they know what they should be doing within 90 days from now? Do they know what the main goal is, the vision? Did I do that right? I'm looking at my coach, I'm like, did I do that right? Right. So it's looking, saying, here's my list. So that's where you start. Here's my brain dump. What stays in my world? What do I want in someone else's world? And then your what do I want in someone else's world is who you hire to. So priority 1, identify who that first hire should be. Priority 2 would be what?
Is this a ranking system or we just listed 3?
No, just listen 3 things. There's no ranking at all. You're just listing out 3 things.
Okay, so because I've done this part, so when we're breaking it down, as I talk about, so part of the other thing that I put as priority is having enough business to support the team.
Having enough business to support a team. I'm going to challenge you on that because it needs to be even clearer. Having enough business, can you hand that to anybody and they know what that means? What is enough? Mike, if I say have enough business, what number comes to mind? Just first number pops in your head.
100.
100. 100 what? 100 houses. That's what popped in his head. Now, when I say enough business to you, what number pops in your head?
No number pops in my head because it depends on the hire for the team and what it is that I need for that person to be able to support having that person on the team. To me,
So
if I'm hiring, if my first hire is admin versus if I was hiring
buyer's
an
agent, right? Showing assistant.
What I need business wise to validate having a whole nother showing assistant is different than what I need business wise.
Very true.
Right.
Very true. So if the first hire is an admin, which if you're bringing on a team, that should be the first hire because that's the value for people to be attracted to your team and to help retain them. A talented agent is someone who loves to get out and about and be the hustle, right? Have the hustle. I'm going to go out. I have that song in my head now. I'm going to go out. I'm going to meet with people. Okay, you have that song in your head now too, right? I'm going to go out. I'm going to meet with people. I'm going to want to go on appointments. Oh my God. Now I have to do paperwork. Now I have to manage a system. Now I have to create my own marketing. A talented agent can do it, but they don't like to do it, right?
Yeah.
So a value add for a team is to have that person who does it for them. What the value add for that admin for you would be to take things off your plate so you can have more time to gain more business, right? Because technically in the MREA book, it says that a person should not bring on an agent until they have consistently X number of closings per month, listings, X number of listings per month for, I think it's 4 or 5 months straight. I think it's 4 listings. Don't quote me on that number. I need to recheck it. I think it's 4 listings per month consistently for 4 or 5 months straight. Because when you have listings, what is that bringing in? Income, open houses, buyers are coming in now, more buyers. So now you have lead flow you can bring into that person, right? Because people want to join a team that has value to them. Value means something different, right, to everybody. But when we look at agents, what do they want? They want to be able to go out, hustle, and make money, right? They want to make money, right?
So that's the reason why I phrase it that way, business, And because like, as I've already admitted, I'm still trying to identify who that first hire is for me. And
Right.
so when you say numbers, the way I would then back into that number, let's say my first hire is admin, which is what my thought process was in. But my first hire is admin, having enough business to justify having an admin for me means that I have enough real estate business, that I'm making enough money to be able
To
pay
support them and
support
pay them, right?
And to have them have enough work to do.
Yep. So then it's figuring out. So priority 2 is, repeat your priority 2.
Well, it was having enough business to support
Right.
having a team.
Right. So priority, if it's identify the first hire, if the first hire we identify is an admin, then that second block is, and this is in no particular order, but the second block is figuring out how much business do I need to have in order to have, and they usually say have a 3 months reserve in the bank to be able to pay a person, right? Because if you look at a salary, and I'm throwing out an arbitrary number. So let's say you hire someone at 45,000 with bonus. You're not paying 45,000 up front. You're paying whatever that is for that month, right? I don't know what that is, but whatever that breaks down to in a month. So you're looking at, I need X amount of money in my savings for a 3-month time span minimum to be able to hire and support this person. So then they can take things off my plate so I can make more money, to add more money, to keep them on board. And it's a, big circle, right? All right, so let's move on from there. Obviously, next step for this activity is to identify, is there a third priority? But let's dig down into strategies now. The strategies are the tactics. This is where you get into the nitty gritty of how to make that priority happen, right? So if one priority is identify who my first hire is, then a strategy is what?
That spreadsheet that you're gonna send me, or
Right.
my whole list of this is everything I do,
Right.
and what's my 20% chunk out of it?
Brain dump.
What do I want to give somebody else?
Yeah, so it'd be
That's my
strategy 1, brain dump, everything I do. And highlight my top 20%, my big rocks. Now, obviously, you'll need more strategies than just that one, but on the having enough business to support that person, what could be a strategy for that?
So my number one that comes to my mind is that I need to research what the salary range is for admin. How much do they make?
Right, so
If I have 3 months worth.
Yep.
To pay for.
talking to different teams, researching what are different salaries, and it is, you talk to 10 people, all 10 are gonna have a different one, right? But talking to different teams, reading the team section of the MRA book. You don't have to read the whole book, you can just read the team section, because it actually talks about salaries. It breaks down, it literally gives you a P&L sheet in there, profit and loss. So strategy 1 might be figuring out what you need. What would strategy 2 be?
Well, it would be, I guess, build the reserves.
Okay, let's break that down more. How do you build a reserve?
It's just, well, I know that there's like this whole breakdown of take I know their numbers, take this much of what your commission is, to feed back into
Mhm,
the business, to
mhm.
save, to grow your business. I know that there's a
Yep.
structure. For me, because I'm a dual agent
Mhm.
and I don't need my real estate income to support me, everything I make for real estate is in reserves right now.
So then it may be figuring out not just what you need in reserve, but it may also be what do you need to maintain as far as real estate closings per month to support that person. Because again, we want to look at this and be like, is that specific enough to get me started? Do I know what I need to do? Do I need to have 5 closings every month? If that's one of the items, then it's how do I do that? What does that look like? Which could be the third strategy, by the way. Right? Or sorry, third priority. So the third priority, you may leave that blank until you figure out the first 2, because your third priority may actually be X number of closings per month to be able to do 1 and 2, right? And then of course the strategies behind that would be talk to this many people, go on this many appointments, have this many signed buyer agreements, have this many signed listing agreements, the nitty gritty of real estate, maybe something in investments.
That goes back to having a business support team. That says the same thing in different words.
Exactly. Because if we don't, here's the thing, if we don't know a number, we'll never hit a number. And then our vision will never happen. We have to have a number, right? If it goes back to what Brandon talked about with the SMART goal. Is it specific? Specific is a number, right? If I'm like, hey, Mike, I really want you to coach some people and help them produce. He might think, I met with these 2 people this week. This is awesome. I'm like a rock star. And me, I'm thinking, what the hell are you doing? Like, no, because I wasn't specific enough. So how would he know, right? If I'm working with an agent on my team, right? So if you, again, this goes back to retention. If you have a team and you have an agent on your team, let's say they're a buyer agent. If that agent, if you say, hey, I really want you to close some deals. Every month I want you to close some deals, work towards a vision. This is going to be great. You're never going to hit the goal. They're never going to hit their goal. And that person will not be retained. That creates a revolving door because you weren't specific enough. So you're not going to be on the same page. I don't know what some means. That person might think, I closed 1. Yeah. Right. Where if they're a full-time agent, they're just closing 1 and they're on your team. What are they doing? Right. Obviously after training period. Instead, it's saying, hey, listen, welcome, like before they even join the team, it's sharing, here's the vision for the team. Our vision is to do 100 units. Now, part of that, obviously we're going to work as a team. I'm going to have, if you're brought on board, you're going to help with the buyers as I bring in the listings. And one of the requirements is a minimum of 2 closings a month. Now, if they know that up front and you're saying, what's your goal? And they're like, well, I want to make $100,000. Okay, well, to make $100,000 with these splits, you need to have 3 closings a month. Okay, now there's clarity. You know they're hitting your goal. You know what their goal is. They know what they need to do, but now it's how do they do that, right? So when you have a GPS for yourself and the team vision, there also need to be GPSs for each agent. Each agent needs to know, like, okay, what are the strategies to get 100 closings? How many appointments do you need to go on to get that? How many closings do you need a month? How many signed signatures? Because there's fallout, right? Where are the leads coming from? What are we focusing on in the day? What are our time blocks? See how specific we're getting? It's the tactical part of it. That's going to be the biggest challenge for a huge, big thinker like yourself, because it's breaking it down to what needs to happen that's today, right? Because for you, it's walking into your day and saying, what's today look like? And having it laid out with that measurable specific. When you bring on people, right, it's what does their day look like, right? I recently gave everybody in coaching and myself, we have a task, I'll call it that. We have a thing we're doing in December as a coaching department. And I broke down a due date, a due by date, deadline. I broke down who's calling who, what's the script, where do you put the notes, what does it sound like, right? Clarity. Okay. How do you feel about that? What questions do you have regarding GPS before we take a mini break?
Well, I don't know that I have any questions. I'm processing it. Because I know we talked about smart rules. We got a specific micro rule, whatever it's good, time restricted. So thinking about that in terms of my big goals will help me kind of go back.
Yeah, just, exactly. Really dig down. Your strategies should line up with what we're going to be going through next, which is your 4-in-1, which literally is going to break down, here are my strategies. This is what I'm doing this week. This is what I'm doing next week. So it's getting really purposeful behind our day-to-day, right? That's the hardest thing for big thinkers, by the way. That is the hardest thing. I'm gonna lie. That is the hardest thing for big thinkers because we're constantly up here in the clouds, kind of like, I want this and I want this and I like this and I see this and oh my God, like this is exciting. But to be able to get there, we gotta get uncomfortable almost and like, okay, today's Tuesday. What am I doing today? Right.
And what I mentioned last time, I think we were talking about, I can't remember what the question was. Limited beliefs.
Limiting beliefs. Yep.
Mine was getting overwhelmed in all the things that has to happen.
It's easy.
Feeling like I got to do it all right now. So
Yep.
I can give myself, I can sit and say, these are other things that I need to do in order to accomplish that. And then I'm like, I don't know where to start and I don't get any of it done. So that's where
The next step we're going to take is actually starting the 4-in-1. So what we're going through here are things that every team should be putting in place to help retain who you bring on board. Because if you don't have goals, priorities, and strategies for yourself, and then you don't share your goals and create priorities and strategies with the team, right? What the coaching department doesn't know is that starting in, I don't know if it's going to be the end of December, beginning of January, is we're going to have a full GPS for our department, right? Anybody who leads people, anybody who has a team of individuals, no matter what their role is, should have a clear vision for what needs to happen, right? And then the next activity we're going to get through, we're going to take a mini break. The next activity is going to be breaking it down into that 4-1-1, into that weekly, monthly spot check, right? Accountability tool that not only helps yourself as you grow a team, but then you have one for every team member. And we're going to get into why that's so important in just a few minutes. How you feeling?
Good.
Better? You good?
Yep.
Getting some things down?
Yep, I'm transferring this into my, what I'm writing here into here. So this is where I'm going to look for it. I'll never keep up.
All right. All right. Let's share one one thing you took away so far before we move into the next step.
My aha, not that, I guess I didn't know it, but it still was aha. That my goal, even though that is goal, the more specific it is,
Mhm.
the better I'm able to get my strategies together, get my priorities together.
Mhm.
So spending time being more specific is going to help me in that drill down. That's the aha for me, is that that's the way to get from here to there.
Mhm.
I feel, that's what I think.
Yep, I love that. Absolutely.
The more specific I can get. So I start here and I can just keep asking myself questions. What does that mean? What does that look like? And the more specific I get, that's gonna help me with the drill down. Because that's the part that I need to drill down. So,
Well,
that's-
I absolutely love that you shared that.
It's kind of like the bridge. That's what I learned. It's like the bridge from the big vision to
Mhm.
getting it done is the being more specific.
Well, let's get more specific, shall we? Let's take those goals, priorities, and strategies and create what's called a 411 around it. So you should have the sheet in front of you. A 411 stands for 1 year, 1 month, 4 weeks. Even though some months you have 5 weeks, but that's the way it goes. It's a tool to really focus our goals on the top 20% of what is most important in our life. You notice I didn't say work. I said life. Okay. Our 411 helps us prioritize, maintain and stay focused, and creates a help with life balance. So let's walk down how to actually create and fill a 411 out for yourself, and then how to actually guide your team members in creating a 411, and what that looks like and how that's so important in the retention of them. So the very first thing is the top, the annual goals. Now, we just created a GPS, right? Goals, priorities, strategies. Your annual goal may be the same as your GPS. However, it needs to be specific. The 411 needs to be a very tactical tool. So if you handed it to a stranger, they would understand it. So as an agent, I'm going to talk an agent right now. An agent cannot put as an annual goal, close business. That means nothing. Well, it means something to them, but what does it mean, right? Instead, they need to say, an annual goal might say, have 40 closings in 2022. That's very specific, right? Your 411, you may have a goal that says have X number of closings and hire one person. Right? Because again, we want to be specific with it. Now, you might get halfway through the year and you may have to revamp, you might have to change things, but in the beginning, it needs to be measurable. It has to be metrics based, right? For the majority of it. There may be things like create this, develop this, work on this. We'll talk about that. Now, 411 has multiple categories. One category is called the business category. Okay, so if you take what I handed you or what's on the screen here, if I divide this in half, one might say business, like there's a column that says business. And then you want to have other categories on there that are not business related. So it might be a business. So you definitely need business because that's what we're doing, right? We're here for business. But then you also have columns, let's say, for wealth or health or family. Could be financial. It could be travel. It could be spiritual, right? I'm naming a few examples. So it's whatever is important to you as a person. Same thing when you're leading your people on your team. The first meeting that you have with them, you're sitting down and saying, okay, we're going to start developing your 4-in-1. Before we put anything down on paper, let's talk about the categories. We know we want business, but now what else is important to you to have a life balance? And then they just start naming things, right? So they may name one thing, they may name 5. Anything they name, you put it down. Oh, my friends are really important. I want to work on my finances. I want to work on my health. Each one gets a separate column. And then each one gets a goal, that annual goal. So it may look like business, have 40 closings, and let's up that, that's a low number. Have 60 closings, and I'm thinking of an agent right now. I'll say that as the business, have 60 closings. In their health section, it might say, eat healthier, feel healthier. We're going to break that down though, because what does that mean? Right? We don't know I don't know what that means. Does that mean eat more fruit? Stop eating cupcakes, which I'm about to go do in a little bit, right? What does that mean? They might have a category. I know when I first started 4-in-1s years ago with my first leader I had, one of my categories was friends, because I felt that was a very important category in my life at that moment. I mean, it still is. And so my category was, my annual goal said, visit, because a lot of my friends are out of state. So my annual goal was visit 5 friends out of state. That was my annual goal. Was that specific?
Yeah.
Right. In the finance category, one of their goals might be buy a new car, save for a house, right? Now, then we break it down monthly. You or that person on your team may not have something in the month for everything, right? If they have buy new cars and annual, they might not want to focus or do anything with it in January. They might want to start it in March. That's fine. You might have blanks for certain things. The business one, you always have something. You can't have a blank in business, right? So in the business category, if it's close 60 homes, what would January's monthly look like?
60 divided by 12 is 5. So,
Okay. Have 5 closings. What else could be in that monthly? So you're going to put a few things.
I'm going to also, I guess, have a number of how many contacts I'm going to take in order to get to those 5 goals.
In that month, talk to X number of people, go on X number of appointments, sign X number of agreements. See how it's all measurable, right? You may have something non-measurable in there, which might be connect with, a top producer to learn blank, right? You may have something in there regarding trainings. You may have something in there regarding reading a book, right? Read the MREA. So then the weekly, now here's the thing with weekly. This is where the majority of people have a learning curve, I'll call it that, with creating the weeklies. You can't do next week until this week is done. So you can't sit here and fill out your entire 4 weeks for the whole month today. Why do you think that is?
Because you haven't reached our goals for this week, and that's going to inform
Exactly. Exactly. So if we haven't figured out, if this week we said in our weekly, read 50 pages of the MREA book, set 2 new appointments. See how it's specific. I'm going to use one of your goals. Complete my brain dump activity. See how we can put that in the weekly goal, right? And then you move into, so that this week ends, before the next week starts, you what's called red light, green light, right? So you either highlighted green being, yep, I brain dumped, and I'm going to highlight, I set 2 appointments, but maybe the read 50 pages is red because you only read 25. That doesn't mean you failed. Okay, don't look at this. This is a tool to help us stay on track with our day-to-day and our week-to-week, but it also then helps our teams. This is the retention. This is the biggest retention tool you could have, by the way. This right here and the value you provide are the biggest retention tools. Because if you're meeting with your team members once a week consistently at the same time, let me repeat that, you're meeting with your team members individually once a week at the same time, then you're able to sit there and say, okay, how was last week? What are you most proud of? Let's look at, okay, so awesome. You hit your 2 appointments. You did your brain dump activity. All right, so you got half of the thing for MREA. What happened there? Oh, you know what? I really thought I could do it, but my time got away from me. And okay. What do you want this week coming up to look like? What are those goals? I want to set 2 appointments again. I want to read 50 pages. Okay, now let's look at that. This allows you as a leader to have that conversation. Do you feel comfortable with 50 pages, or do you want to start with 25? Or just up to 30, right? If a person keeps putting on their set 2 appointments, set 2 appointments, set 2 appointments, set 2 appointments, but every week it's red, what does that do? Mentally, what does that do?
Oh, it makes them probably discouraged.
Discouraged. Absolutely. They're discouraged. They probably are less engaged. They're probably like, oh my God, am I in the right industry? Right? So this 4-in-1 also allows us as leaders to sit with that person and ask questions to get them to self-discover, okay, listen, let's have a win. Let's have a win. This week, we're going to set 1 appointment. Now let's talk about how we're going to do it. Then they do it. Okay, now next week we're going to do it again. Now we're going to up it to 2, but let's talk how we're going to do it. Let's look at your calendar. Let's time block together. Let's structure it out. Who are you calling? Do you have enough leads? Are you talking to enough people? Right? So as a leader, we're really breaking down for that person how to get there. How does that help retain someone?
Well, for one, it lets them know that you're invested in their goals and,
Yep.
you know, and then it gives them something that keeps them motivated.
Yes. So you're invested, keep them motivated, engaged. Now in that same 4-on-1 meeting, you're also talking about their personal life as well, tying that in. Okay. So let's say it is, actually, I'm going to use an example. I am recording this and I know my operations person will probably listen to it. So hope it's okay. I'm using this example. Melissa one of her goals is to go to Scotland next year. She kept talking about it. She kept talking about it. She kept talking about it. I said, great, add it to your 4-on-1. So annual goal, go to Scotland. So in that month, maybe it was November, we sat down and said, okay, is there anything this month you want to accomplish regarding your goal of going to Scotland? Oh, I want to research this. I want to look up this. Okay, what week do you want to do that? Do you want to do that this week? No, I'm really busy. I got this and this going on. I can't. Then don't put it. Right? We go into next week. Is this the week you're putting something in there? Yes, this is the week, and here's what I'm going to do. Right? It's baby steps. Research this. Great. Then we move forward. Okay. Is there anything else you want to do this month? Well, I really, you know what? I want to talk to my friend and book it. When do you want to book it by? See how we're really breaking it down? Right? Great. Put that on the week. Book the trip. Okay. That didn't happen. Why? You didn't get to go with a friend. Okay. Is this week the week? If not, there's no right or wrong. It's just asking the questions to let that person think through what's realistic, what makes the most sense, right? And it's prioritizing. So it's, yeah, yep, this week it's happening. So when it happened, and she got that trip to Scotland booked, how do you think she felt? Accomplished, excited. Now, as the leader, I'm excited for her, right? Because I'm like, yeah, can't wait to see the pictures. But as a leader, how do you think they feel by you helping them do those type of things?
Oh, nothing but positive.
Right. If you're helping someone
Support it,
encourage, if you're helping someone eat better, lose weight, go take another trip, visit friends, see family more, build wealth, save more money, buy a new car, whatever is important to them. Again, this is all about the person. Has nothing to do with us whatsoever, minus the business side. The business side does need to align with the team vision. If you're going through and their annual goal is, I want to close 6 deals, and your team vision is we need 100 units, and each person on my team is required to do 3 a month, you need to have a real conversation with them and say, okay, why 6? Do you think you can't do more? Or do you just not want to do more, right? It's the will versus skill. They either have the will to do it, and you need to give them the skill, or they don't have the will to do it, and then they might not be the talent that you want, right? And that's fine too. So that's, since you're here, can we break down one of yours?
Yes.
Okay. So on your 4-in-1, let's put what would be one annual thing? You might have a few, by the way. There doesn't need to be one annual goal. In this, you might have a few annual goals, especially in different categories. So on the business side, do you want to start with the business?
Yeah.
Okay. What is one annual goal that's specific for 2022?
I mean, I still have the same goal.
Hire a person.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely hire.
So if in 2022 you made 1 hire to start. Now here's the thing, you might in June be like, oh my God, I'm ready to hire a second person. Then you add that, you add that to your 4-in-1, right? This is a fluid document that is not set in stone, right? Because life happens. So if in your annual, hire 1 person, make a hire, that would be your annual. So then if we look at, let's just take January, because we're already halfway through the December, but if you look at January, what is a goal in January that fits into that? Kind of goes back to your GPS, which is why we do that first.
Right. So if I'm following GPS, one of the first priorities I have is to identify who that hire is.
Okay, so do you want to identify that person in the month of January?
Yes.
Okay, then that will be on the monthly,
Yes.
right? So you see how we're breaking that down? So now we're putting a goal time to that. So in January, you notice how I asked you that question? You could have actually answered with, okay, let me think through this. I have a vacation in the first week of January. I got this going on this part of January. I have this crazy with my other job. So no, then don't put it in January. So our 4-in-1 needs to be realistic with our life that's going on, right? So in January, one of your monthlies will be identify who, identify the position that is my first hire. Now we're just breaking down one annual with one monthly, but if you're gonna have more than one, right? Because you have your real estate side as well, right? Invest in this. Close this many deals, right? As real estate agents, we need to have those numbers on the 4-in-1, right? Now let's break it down and let's look at the week. So let's just look at, let's just pretend we're moving into the first week of January right now. What in that first week of January do you want to accomplish that leads up to that monthly? Brain dump. So that would be one of your, okay, brain dump.
Reading the MREA is gonna be one of those goals. I'm not gonna get it done in a week.
Right, okay, so reading the MREA, is that something you want to do in January or start in January?
Yeah, probably.
So that would be the monthly. So in your monthly, put start reading MREA. Sarah, breaking this down more, but we're putting deadlines to it. We're putting due dates. So when we go into our month, before the month even starts, right? Before the month starts, we go in there knowing, and these don't go in a drawer, these get hung up, right? Are they on your fridge? Are they in your workspace? Where are your 4-in-1s that they are smacking your face? So when you walk before January starts, you're walking into January going, oh, these are my priorities this month. And here's what I'm doing my first week. So in the first week, if the month is start reading MREA, how many pages in the first week do you want to read?
How many pages is it? But I don't know, what's a good 20 pages?
20 pages. And here's the thing, you're starting with something, right? You might go and find that you get really into it and you read more than 20. You might at the end of the week be like, okay, I kind of overexerted myself this week and I thought I could do A, B, C, D, and E, and F, but really my time allotted me for just this. Let me readjust, right? We're constantly readjusting as we're going through this. Now, as you're leading a team, going back to the retention tool part of this, let's say you're my team member. Okay, welcome. You're on my team. So let's say I brought you in and you are, doesn't matter your role. Could be an admin, could be, by the way, this is for every role on your team. Everybody gets a 4-in-1 no matter what their role is, because everybody should have a goal and priorities. So you come on board and let's say you're an agent, okay, on my team. And now everybody runs this a little bit differently. So I'm going to share some best practices, but then this is something that you choose for yourself. Typically a 4-1-1 is not started in a person's first 30 days because they just have a lot of learning to do. They don't understand things. There's a lot happening. They're just shadowing you. They are just drinking from a fire hose, right? 4-in-1s can be started. Technically speaking, they usually don't start until 90 days. But if that person's really gung-ho, you could start them in 60 days. You could start them in 90. You kind of have to feel out that person, right? So when you sit down with the individual and you're walking through, okay, what do you want in a year? What would make 2022 a great year for you? What are some goals on the business side? What are some goals on the personal side? Great. Let's talk about January. Nicole, what do you want to accomplish in January? Right? Now, if Nicole, let's say, just started, let's say you're 60 days in, you don't really have a pipeline built just yet, right? You're getting your footing. And you say, I want 3 closings in January. Oh, and by the way, today's December 14th. And by the way, I have no agreements. I'm not, I have one buyer that I'm working with, but nothing else. How do we coach that person? How do we work with them? What do we say next?
I guess we go to SMART. We put out
the SMART goals.
Right.
Mhm.
Say what's attainable, the A
Mm-hmm.
of SMART.
Yep.
And then I would engage that person in a conversation and say, okay, is this attainable for you? And why do you think it is? Or are there any challenges to this being attainable for you? And if there are challenges to it, what's something that's more attainable?
Love it. So you're asking self-discovery questions to get them to understand that you don't have any agreements signed. Can you really have, it's already mid-December and you want 3 closings in January. Is that realistic? Is that attainable? Right? We're not trying to limit someone's excitement and their vision and their numbers. We're just trying to get them to understand what's realistic. I remember this agent, oh my God. Funny coaching story. I find it funny anyways. So agent got licensed, right? They take the test, they pass the class, which teaches you nothing about real estate whatsoever. And they show up and they join. This is like 3.5 years ago. I'm sitting with them and they come in, they're all excited. I'm ready to go. I said, great. Well, talk to me. Like, what's your big why? What got you in real estate? What has you here today? What do you want to achieve in your first year? Oh my God, I want to buy a house. I love that. Well, you're in the right business. You can represent yourself. So I said, well, when do you want to buy a house by? 3 months. Have you already started looking? What savings do you have? Oh, no. I don't have savings yet. I haven't started looking yet, but I want to buy a house in 3 months. That's fantastic. Well, let's talk through that. Like, let's talk through how to make that happen. And she goes, well, I know that I'll need to have, and I forget the number she threw out, so I'm just going to make up a number right now, 10 closings in 3 months. By the way, she's dual career. I said, okay, well, number one, can 10 closings happen in 3 months? Sure they can. But let's talk through what that actually means to you as far as how many appointments you need to go on a week, starting this week, tomorrow, to make that happen. Because closing wise, you work with somebody, you find a house, you go under contract, you're still about 45 days out. So really, if you found somebody today, you're still, unless they're a cash payer, you're pretty much about 60 to 90 days out from everybody. So we'd have to find everybody within the next 3 weeks. Right? Which can happen, but are you willing to sit and make phone calls for about 6 hours a day to make that happen? No, I only have 2 hours a day to put into real estate. And I can't pay for my, and I can't, pay for my boards and MLS until next month. And so her thought process was not realistic. So it was having her understand, it wasn't squashing it and being like, really? Seriously? No. It was having her understand the realistic aspect of it and then putting a new goal time frame around that. Right? Which then she stood up and said, never mind, I don't want to get into real estate, and walked out. So that's a whole nother story. Yeah, that was super fun. I'm like, really? You spent all that money on the class, took the test, and you're like just out. You're just, okay, that's cool. She did. Oh, she full on thought it was HGTV. Like, you walk out the door, all this business comes to you, you show them a house and they just buy it.
Oh, wow.
Like, full on thought. Yes, very soon. It's surprising how many people think that too. So being really specific, helping them develop it, and then asking them thought-provoking questions to guide them through it. Then you're going to have weekly consistent meetings. So I always like the beginning of the week. Mondays, Tuesdays are always great days to have this with your team members, because now they have time to focus on a week. They have clarity around it, as opposed to Fridays, right? Fridays, they don't have, the week is over, right? So it's like, okay, you didn't do this, you did do this. Mondays, it's, what do you have going on for this week? How do you feel about last week? Do we need to make any tweaks, any changes, right? Adjust the sale. Having that consistent time with that person allows them, oh, all right, it's my time. It's my time at 9 a.m. on Monday morning with Nicole. She's going to meet with me. I can't wait to talk about my goals, right? So on a team, this is not only used as an accountability tool, What are they doing? What aren't they doing? Let's tweak things. But it's also a life balance tool to help them become more focused on their whole life as opposed to just one part. And when a person's more balanced, they tend to perform better. And you tend to retain them because you're showing you care about them as a person, which I hope we just naturally do anyways. Because if we don't, we probably shouldn't start a team anyways. And then prioritizing, right? If they have 20 things in 1 week, and they're all pretty big things, they probably need help prioritizing okay, let's move some of this. Like, what does this look like on your calendar? Is this realistic? What are the top 3 things that really need to get done? Right? Should the other things maybe be a new week or even next month? So for Nicole, for yours, when you're looking at your week, as a very big visionary, big thinker you are, you may find yourself putting a lot of stuff into 1 week. I want you to ask yourself that question, and feel free to send it to me as well, because I'll ask you that question. I want you to ask yourself the question, what are the top 2 or 3 priorities in everything I just listed out for just this week? Do I have time realistically to get to everything else, or am I setting myself up for failure? Should I move anything? And then whatever's in your week goes on your calendar. When are you brain dumping? What day is it going to be? What time is it going to be? When are you making this many contacts? When are you, for a new agent, maybe it's when are you going to practice and learn the contracts? Right? When are you doing things? Put it on your calendar. All right. What questions do you have on that? Or concerns or thoughts?
So I had a bunch of thoughts on my head. I'm like self-correcting myself. Like, no. Don't do that. Don't do that. But what you just said about prioritizing, that was the thing that as you were talking, that came to my head. So while I'm a really big visionary, I know that, so I took a business class with them, and they were talking about multitasking and how some people call what they call multitasking. We can't just, you can only really focus on one thing at one time.
Yep, only computers can multitask.
And
Human beings cannot.
Exactly. And so people who are good at quote unquote multitasking, what they really good at, they make easy transitions. They're easy to go from one thing to the next thing and come back. It's easy for them to do. I don't do that well, and I learned that shit. And I accepted it, and I own it. I do not do that well. I get deep in stuff, and I have to come up and surface before I go to the next thing.
Okay.
And if you throw things at me, I get fragile. I'm like, I can do it all, but not all right now.
Right.
So I instinctively prioritize. Right?
Okay.
Nobody has to tell me to do that. Even though I'm a big thick, I instinctively, because I can't go all. I already know that. So in my mind, I'm going to go, this is what I'm dealing with right now. This is what I'm going to do next. And I'll have to give myself transition time. I know that about myself in person. So that's what was going through my mind with all of this. I'm like, okay, I had business, I had health, and what I do instinctively is say, I'm going to focus on business. I'm going to focus on health. I like to deal with things kind of in silos, and it works sometimes and sometimes it doesn't. You know what I mean? So that's what I'm processing right now. And as you're saying this to me, what I'm processing is how I make that work for me and still get everything done. Which I have to do that in life. I'm doing a bunch of stuff all the time. So
right.
you know, because I instinctively want to prioritize things. That's what I do instinctively. I instinctively want to say, I need to do stuff for business, I need to do stuff for college, I need to do stuff for all this, but which one is the most important?
So yes.
And fitting in everything else everywhere else. You know what I mean?
Yes. So I love the question you just asked yourself. I'm gonna add one thing, right? So if it's okay, I'm here. Let me come up from here. Okay, now I'm gonna move over here. Come up and move over here. That's where you lay it out in the week, right? So I think I have an example I can show at some point, but you lay it out in your week. You say, okay, week 1, I'm going to brain dump for business. What day goes in the calendar? You're not brain dumping 5 days a week, right? It's 2 hours on Tuesday at 5 o'clock at night. I don't know. And I want to set 2 new appointments. Okay. What do you need to do to set 2 new appointments? What's your lead gen time? What are you doing to connect with people? Right? Where is that going? I want to, I'm thinking something personal now. I'll use that example. I want to research Scotland. Okay. What day are you researching? Is that at night one night while you're watching a fun movie with a glass of wine? Like, what are we doing with research Scotland? I want to work out 3 times. That's on mine. I want to work out 3 times. Right? Okay. What days are those? Is it Monday, Wednesday, Friday? Is it on the weekends? Is it at the gym? Is it walking? Is it biking? What is it? Right? So as you look at the whole, that's an entire list. So it's not, so in what you just said, it's each one has its moment, right? I'm not riding my exercise NordiTrack bike downstairs while I'm brain dumping, although that could be fun, I don't know. While I'm also, no, it could actually be fun. Now I'm like, oh, work done while I'm riding a bike. This might actually work. While I'm writing a contract, right? Each one has its time in the day, right? It's the same thing with when I first started as coaching. Okay, one of the biggest fails I had in my first year of coaching is I'm like, okay, I need to grow my program. I need to connect with every agent in the Mark Center. I need to introduce myself. I need to help this many agents get into production. I need to develop this resource for them, etc. The laundry list was like that big. It was huge, right? So I had to create a 4-in-1 around it and say, all right, hold on. Number 1, what's the main goal? Okay, what's this first month look like? What's this week? And then after this, in the week had, let's say 7 things. That doesn't mean 7 on Monday. That means 2 on Monday, 1 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, 1 on Thursday, and taking Friday off. Something to that effect. This kind of goes back to something you said in one of the classes, and you said, where do I start? Because if we struggle with not prioritizing, but with, I'm almost going to say scheduling it out, which yes, that means prioritizing, but scheduling it out.
Which is different.
It is different. Like I know these are the top 3 priorities.
Right. So when,
and guess what? Next month, I know these are the same top 3 priorities. And then next month, these are the same top 3 priorities. And then the end of 2022, these are the same top 3 priorities. These are fantastic priorities. I love them. And we're laughing because we've all been there. Raising my hand. I am fantastic at that, right? So it's saying, great, these are the priorities. What the hell am I doing today? Just today. Tomorrow doesn't exist yet. Today is Tuesday, I think. Today is Tuesday. What is today? And what time today? Right? Most individuals, not everybody, but many individuals, especially in the real estate industry, struggle with structure. right? They struggle with using a calendar, how to use it properly, mapping it out. So again, tying this around to retaining people on the team. When we hire people and we bring them on, whether they're admin, they're agents, they're transaction coordinators, whoever they are on your team, they are going to have these same exact struggles, right? I'm going to start in Mike's 90 days, maybe even 60 days, throwing him things, right? We start throwing Rachel things, throwing Melissa. Hey, here's these priorities. Here's these goals, right? Here's what we want to accomplish, right? Here's a list of 144 people to reach out to. Well, if you look at it, you're going to look at it and go, when the hell am I doing this? Right? I'm in training all day today. I'm in training all day tomorrow. We got Christmas coming up. Like, what? But if you're like, okay, let me divide that by this many days, and that really equals out to 15 people a day. Okay, I can do 15 people at this time in the morning before this gets started. So really, it's only an hour and a half out of my day, or maybe even an hour. Oh, okay, that makes more sense. I can do that. Your team is going to function in the same exact way. One easy way to have a revolving door is to give this huge vision. Be like, here's our goals. Here's what I want you to do. Good luck with that. Let me know if you have any questions. And not actually help them, sit down and truly help them structure it out, prioritize it out, and then follow up with them. This is key. You have to follow up with them. How is it going? Do we need to change things? Is it working? Is it not working? Right? Because if not, they're going to be running off in la la land, and they may or may not have some success, but they're going to internally probably struggle with, what am I doing today? Oh my God, I have all this stuff to do. And they're going to feel chaotic. When they feel chaotic, they don't feel supported. And when they don't feel supported, what do? Boop, out the door. Yep. Peace out. On to the next. Happens all the time, right? Because again, we as team leaders, rainmakers, we're hustling. So we actually have to time block in our calendar time for our people. You got to have it in there, right? It's a hard thing to do. How you feeling about that?
Challenged. I'm feeling challenged, which is not bad.
Do you feel you have a step to take in order to start creating this though? To put a little, like to start with it. You're not doing the whole thing. We're not doing the big vision today. You're not even doing the big vision in 2022, right? You're starting with one or two things. That's it. Okay. Okay, so what I want to go into just really briefly is when we hire people, we talk about consistently having 4-on-1s with them, having that GPS with the team vision, right? Having everybody's buy-in, that's super important. But then what does the day-to-day look like, right? How do we kick off the week with our team? How do we kick off each day with our team, right? There's I want to draw something. I'm going to draw it on here. So I'm going to attempt to draw this. Let's say that, because I'm drawing on a computer. There was somebody who drew this picture for me once and it kind of stuck in my brain. So I'm going to draw it for you. Again, I'm going to attempt to draw it for you because I'm drawing on a computer. Okay. Okay. So over here, we have the individual. Down here, we have a group. And up here, we have a team. So you bring someone on. So here's an individual over here. Whether they just got their license, they've been an individual agent right now and they're exploring teams. Here is a person, that's singular person, running their own show. You bring them onto your organization, your team, and you're a group. A group means you are a group of individuals who all do a job. Right? How do you get to go from a group to a full functioning team? And a team is where the revolving door slows down. The group is where the revolving door lives. The team is where it slows down. How do you make that trend? How do you get that transition? How do you think you get that transition?
I mean, I want to say it's everything that we're talking about. So it's having shared vision. Everybody has ownership of their part in that vision. Support. The accountability and the opportunity, I guess, to grow. I feel like it's everything we talk about is how you do that. That's, yeah, it's hard to kind of succinctly say, you hire them, you train them, and we take them. Everything that we're saying that needs to happen, that's what needs to happen in order for that team. You gotta hire the right talent, you gotta train them appropriately, and you gotta have the retention tools in place to retain them. That's how you get the team. So it's everything you talk about.
Yes, 100%. It's typing them both there. And you actually have to have a, what's the word I'm looking for? You have to have some struggles. You have to have some pain areas. You got to fight a bit.
Okay.
You got to fight. You got to butt heads a bit. You got to fight a bit, because that's how, so you have this vision. Okay. I'm an individual agent. I'm 4 years in, and I'm like, I'm ready to grow a team, and I'm doing all this production, and I need more help. Let's go. So I bring on this admin and I bring on this agent, and I'm like, here's the vision. Here's what we're going after. Let's create the priorities. Here's what we're all working towards. Let's run. Okay. Now, typically what happens is I'm running in this direction. Listings, 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 hustle, hustle, hustle. The admin's running in this direction. Type, 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 work, 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 sport, sport, sport. And the other agent's running in that direction, going, I think I'm doing okay. I'm going to run over here. At some point in time, they're all a group. They're individuals who are now doing their own thing on a team, hoping it moves forward, right?
Mhm.
At some point in time, there's going to be struggles, right? Because we're all in different directions. We're working together on a vision, but this person's out hustling, this person's out hustling, this person's in an office by themselves all day. One way that's actually a very simple yet powerful way to quickly form a team is to have two things every week, minus the individual 4-and-1s. Have two things as a team every week. One is a kickoff every Monday as a team, preferably in person. The more you are in person, the stronger your team will get faster. But if not, everybody has to be available through Zoom or somewhere where you can see each other. Now you're kicking off the week with, how was last week? Here's what we did. Here's what our goal was. Here's where we fell short. What's everybody working on this week? Nicole, what do you got going on this week? Love it. What support do you need? Fantastic. Mike, what do you have going on this week? What support do you need? Awesome. Here's our goal for this week, guys. Are we all bought in? Can we do it? Here's what we need to do. Here's what I'm going to be doing. Right? So everybody kicks the week off with knowing what every single person on the team, including admin, is working on and their priorities. Clear vision in that week. Right? That also helps kick off or jumpstart the week with, you might say, well, I really need to hit my 3 appointments this week because I fell short last week. And guys, if you see me up and about, or if you see me doing this, I need you to ask me, how many people have you talked to? So that gives the team time to ask their fellow team members for that extra help they may need to hit their goals, working as a team. Now we're not siloed, we're not individual, right? So that's your kickoff on Monday. Now that whole thing is maybe 30 minutes. You don't need an hour. You're not sitting there answering contract questions. That is not the time for that. You're not sitting there saying, if Mike's going like, okay, well, I had this buyer last week, and let me tell you all about this buyer. Oh my God, I can't believe, I love that you're bringing up the buyer. I'm going to connect with you later today to talk about them. Okay, what's the goals for this week? So we got to keep it on track, right? And then every morning that week, you do a quick morning stand-up. Now, a stand-up, preferably in person, 15 minutes, or it could be, again, a quick 15-minute Zoom, right? But something where you all connect to start off the day, to kickstart the day. It's, hey, everybody ready for today? What's everybody going after today? Love it. What help do you need from me? Okay, perfect. And then midpoint check-ins, right? If you guys are on my team and I know that Mike needs to set one appointment today and he needs to talk to 30 people or 20 people, and I know you need to finish that project you're working on in the admin world, as the leader, I'm going to do a group, right? Whether you use GroupMe or it's a group text or however you like to do this. I'm just going to, as a group, I'm going to do a group text or GroupMe app or whatever. Hey guys, all right, checking in. Where are we with our day? Right? Sharing your goals, leading by example. I finished up this, but I'm working on this now. What do you guys have going on? Nicole, how's that project going? Mike, how's this going? What help do you need? So it's that midday check-in. Because again, we are hustling and bustling, and it's easy to forget to check in with our people for days. It really is. It is easy to be out there and be meeting with clients and doing all this stuff and be like, oh shoot, like I totally forgot to call Mike yesterday.
Yep.
Right? So kicking off the week. Now, one thing I would add is, especially when you start having agents on the team, kick off every morning with a mini practice. Not long. You might just practice one little thing. Maybe it's overcoming objections. Maybe it's closing tactics. You're not spending an hour practicing. 15 minutes, that's all you need. It's all you need. All right. Hey, what are we calling on today? All right, we're calling on our database. Great. Nicole, pretend like you're someone in my database. Ring. All right, what do we got? What do we hear from that? What do we take away from that? Great. Mike, your turn. Call Mary over here. Pretend she's in her database. Awesome. All right, guys, let's make it a great day. What does that do for the day? Oh, say it again. Yes. It establishes the momentum for the day. Kickstart the day, right?
That's a tone too, right?
Sets the tone, right? Again, you're leading by example. They're following you. If you're ignoring them, how do they feel? There's the thing. As team leaders, a lot of times our brains, and I know this, I've coached enough teams in the nation, and I've led teams myself to say, our brains tend to think, They are self-starters. They're real estate agents. They don't want to be micromanaged. This is micromanaging. This is not micromanaging. Micromanaging is about like, what are you doing right now? What are you doing right now? What are you doing right now? What are you doing? I'm gonna sit next to you. What are you doing right now? Okay, that's micromanaging. Nobody wants that. This is kickstarting their day and setting a tone. This is paying attention to them and their goals and helping them. Right? This is leading. By the way, leading and managing, two different things. What's managing?
First word comes to my mind is more so overseeing.
Overseeing.
That it's getting done.
Yep. Inspecting what you expect. Absolutely. That perfect thought, right? It's overseeing that it's getting done. If you if you say, okay, to really hit your goal, I need you to talk to 20 people and set this many appointments and get this signature. And you're not following up to see, has that been accomplished? Or you're like, well, they didn't do it, but I'm not going to talk to them about it. Hopefully they'll do it this week. And then they don't do it this week. And then, well, they didn't do it, but I'm not going to talk to them about it. Hopefully they do it this week. Now, excuse me. Now, we're actually leading them to failure. There's a phrase, it's called nurturing people to failure. Either we're ignoring them because we don't want to have that conversation. There's a great book. Oh my God. So when I worked at the university, I was an admissions advisor. And then very, very quickly, the director on a Thursday basically was like, okay, we're hiring you as a manager for a brand new team that doesn't exist yet. And by the way, we don't have a spot for you yet, but you have 2 weeks to hire 14 people and find a location and figure it out with IT to create the room. And I'm like, sounds great. Okay, let me do that. So went out, I hired 14. Well, I hired 12 in 2 weeks, then 14 a week after, and then 2 more the week after. Hired 14 people, found a room, talked to IT, got computer set up, figured this out, blah, blah, blah. It was an insane 2 weeks. I worked 80 hours in the week, okay? 80 hours. I was like 7 days a week. I was like, shoot, because I also had to do my job, like my advisor job, because I didn't have a team yet. So my biggest thing when I first became manager, I was 20 something years old, never managed anybody in my life. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so exciting. I have a team. They're all going to be my friends. I love everyone. You're all my friends. Yeah, what was wrong with that?
Everything.
Yeah, everything I just said. But you only know what you know, right?
Right.
I'm 20 something years old.
Oh, you know what you're right.
I didn't know anything other than like, I got a big pay raise. I have this team now and I can call myself manager. Like, this is cool. So yeah, may have failed, you know, a bit.
Forward.
Like full on failed, flopped on my ass. Okay. I had an amazing director and he came to me, second director, first one got fired. Had an amazing second director who a few months into being a manager came to me. He goes, I have a book for you to read. It's actually 2 books, but he gave me one first. And it was called Crucial Conversations. Second book to that is Crucial Confrontations. Nobody likes having those conversations. And believe it or not, nobody really knows how. Truly, unless you've been trained, unless you had amazing people that trained you. I've been lucky enough to have amazing people to train me. Those books changed the way I managed people, not led. I still led the same way. Empowering them, asking questions, feedback, buy-in, leading by example, right? You develop a leadership style. I managed differently after I read those books because those books allowed me to learn how to have conversations in a timely manner to help them. Because before, what I was doing is, okay, that's okay that, you know, your goals didn't happen last week. What do we need to do this week? Okay, that sounds great. Go ahead and do that. Okay, that's okay that your goals didn't happen last week. What do we need to do that? And then I had a director going,
What's going on?
hello, you got numbers to hit and you're behind, so your team needs to do this, or you're coming and doing it. I'm like, yeah, I need to change something up because something's not happening. So it turned into conversations where you sat with someone, you said, hey, here's a commitment, not goal, commitment. Here's the commitment. What challenges are you having? What do we need to do? What do you need to do? How can I help and support you? What's the plan for today? Awesome. What else do you need? Nothing? Great. We're going to make it happen. Okay. Because as a team, we need this goal. This feeds into that. This is your job. Right? This is what you committed to. I'm here to help. Ask me any questions. Bam, conversation done, move on. Obviously, if they didn't do it, it's a whole nother conversation. That's performance improvement plan, which is a PIP, to either give them the kick in the butt they need, or it is crucial. Yes, that is crucial confrontation at that point. That's the more impactful. This is what you're supposed to be doing. This is what you're not doing. This is what needs to happen. We're going to put an action plan around this to make it happen. And here's a goal date for it. And if it doesn't happen, this is not going to be the right fit. It's factual. There's no, are there emotions? Of course, right? You don't want to have the conversation, so your brain's all in emotions. They don't want to hear the conversation because they're all in emotions, but the conversation itself is factual. When you talk numbers, when you have things that are measurable, it makes it easier to talk facts because numbers are facts, right? When you bring someone on and they're like, okay, here's what you are supposed to do as an agent, then you hold them accountable to that. Now, who are you actually helping? By holding them accountable, who are you actually helping? Everybody involved and that person's goals, right? An agent doesn't join your team to not succeed. An agent doesn't join your team to make $10,000 in a year. They join to make some money, right? So if we're not doing our job as leaders and managers to get them there, then of course we're going to have a revolving door because they're not hitting their goals. They're not hitting their numbers. So accountability in these conversations actually stop the revolving door. If you have the talent, Yeah, lots of failures, which are all a good thing in life. So again, support them in building a solid future, set goals and communicate regularly, conduct weekly, that I'm going to change that word regular to weekly to be specific, conduct weekly 4-on-1s, having those business conversations, and then communicate that value, vision, and growth with them on a regular basis to make sure everybody's always on the same page moving forward. Set the tone. And we're at the wonderful section of agents helping agents, meaning ahas. So you are fully bought into your growth showing up today. What are 3 ahas? Like how I use measurables and everything. What are 3 ahas that you're walking out of this room with? You're like, everything you said, the entire thing.
I've been hearing about the 411.
Mhm.
And the aha that that's supposed to be all 4 weeks of the four one at one time was an aha. They realized that.
Awesome.
So
Love that takeaway.
so we do that 1 week at a time. And the fact that, as I said before, the bridge, that the specifics is the bridge. Like, I don't know if that sounds in your head the way it sounds in my head, but like that's like a really big aha because I was trying to figure out what's the bridge. Like I've been trying to figure out what is it, and now it's like it's getting specific enough.
Yep.
Getting specific enough. And that to me, that is a common thread between everything that we talked about today.
I'll tell you this. I relate to the big visionary side of you. I'm also a very big visionary. I have a 10-year plan, an 8-year plan, a 7-year plan, a 5-year plan, a 1-year plan. Woo. That will be your hardest part. That will be your biggest, totally achievable. And when you actually start doing it, when you actually start doing it on a weekly basis and be really specific, it will feel fantastic. It will feel, putting it together is going to be draining because your brain doesn't work that way. I get it. It's going to drain you. It will. That's why it's like block it out in chunks. You're not just spending 8 hours putting together your entire vision for 2022. Block it out in chunks because that part's going to drain you getting to the specifics. So use December, all of the rest of December, to plan out your January.
Yes.
Okay. And then midway through January, start piecing together your February. So you have time to put it all together.
And so that was another aha for me. So it's something aha is happening in my head as you're talking. Aha for me was that I did this in my head. I didn't do it on paper. Like it wasn't, I didn't have a structure. But I did this in my head for myself for the month of December. Back in the October, beginning of November. And that's a major aha for me because it lets me know that I can do this. And that it's not a foreign concept. It's not as hard as I think it's like it's something that I did it just out of sheer necessity. So life has been kicking me in my butt for 12 months now. It's just been kicking me in my butt. And October, my job was like, okay, maybe being laid off in December. And I'm like, okay. So, and then no specifics around it. Like, we'll let you know, you may or may not.
That's crazy.
And it gave me like pause. It put everything on pause for me. Like, okay, if I get laid off, how's my life gonna look different? I started thinking about something.
Yeah.
Said, okay, well, come December, this is when I'm spending December different. And I did, this is what I need to do for business. This is what I need to do for my house. This is what I need to do for, maybe it was mental health more than anything.
Yep.
So I did that all in my head. And I said, okay, this is how I'm gonna break December. Next week of December, I'm gonna tie up everything I had to tie off work. On the second week of December, I'm gonna be off, whether it's voluntary or involuntary. I don't know at this point, but I'm gonna be off. And while I'm off, I'm gonna do these things. I'm gonna address this about my business. I did all of that in my head. And this week, every day, I've been working. Well, I'm gonna start with December. I'm also still off. But I've been working in my mind. I've been saying, okay, by the end of this week, we're doing this celebration for my brother's birthday. I'm doing this today, and I'm gonna deal with that. Tuesday, I had all day training. I'm not dealing with birthday stuff on Tuesday. So let me make sure I get all of that wrapped up on Monday. Because Tuesday's gonna be all about business. I had people contact me yesterday about business stuff, and I said to them, I'm gonna have to contact you tomorrow because today I'm doing this. Tomorrow I'm gonna block that off of business, and that's what I did kind of instinctively, and it's helped me really knock some things off the list, really feel accomplished, and feel like I'm setting myself up for 2022. Taking that time off of work is giving me time. Well, my daytime job. Giving me time to address business stuff and stuff. And without having to multitask. You know,
Yeah.
normally I'm online, I'm on Zoom, and I'm doing work. today I'm here and I'm able to focus on it and I'm able to actually go through the exercises. And so that is a big aha for me. It's
I
like,
love
okay,
that.
Nicole, you can do this. You can do this. It's just thinking what you did instinctively and actually having the structure. There's a structure around it and apply it. All you gotta do is apply it. So that's, I think, my major aha. I think it's like internal, like, okay, I feel good about this. I don't feel overwhelmed. I don't feel like I don't know how I'm gonna get there.
So-
It's a roadmap.
Take everything you just said, which was fantastic, by the way. And now you're going to take the next steps and put it in writing. When we write things and we have them down, we are more likely to actually achieve them and succeed them. And it also helps us stay focused on them because our days can get crazy, especially in real estate. Our days can get nuts, especially dual career and real estate. Our days can get super nuts, right? So it's going into your day saying, what's today? Oh, yep, I'm doing that. All right, let me go do it. Right? And you just make it happen. And it sounds so easy when you say it like that, but it's not. But it's not. Thank you so much. Let me stop this recording. That will be sent out to a few people.